This was the end of the story for the mistake. That is Japan's militaries. Now, I'd like to talk about people's daily lives during war. As the tide of the war turned sharply against Japan, poverty spread over people's lives. Rice, fuel, and other daily necessities were rationed to the citizens and could only be purchased with tickets. People were forced to cooperate with the military under slogans such as extravagance is the end. Do without until we win. If they were suspected of complaining about the war or being uncooperative with the military, they were called a traitor and were taken to the police station and were beaten badly. Women, high school students, and middle school students were mobilized to work for the military. In the neighborhood association, households were required to practice fire drills with bucket relays and make air raid shelters. Moreover, many Koreans and Chinese people were brought to Japan and were forced to work at munition factories. Students had military training at school. For example, my mother wore a hairband while practicing bamboo steel drills, shouting, "Aim! Aim!" to fight off US Army invasion in mainland Japan. Can you imagine? Against the US Army? Actually, people believed that this is a war for justice. Therefore, Japan will surely win. As the war situation worsened, private houses were demolished to create fire breaks in preparation for fires caused by air raids. The middle school students were mobilized to work for this operation. On that day, about 6,300 middle school students were killed by the atomic bomb near here, in Hiroshima, very near here. My mother's younger brother, Norio, was one of those students. Elementary school students were sent to leave the rural temples and assembly halls to avoid possible air raids and fire bombs in the city. They endured lonely and poor lives, separated from their parents. At that time, they had no idea that they could occur atomic bomb orphans. Now, I'd like to talk about the atomic bombing on August 6th. Watching Germany's movement, the United States launched a project to develop atomic bombs in 1942, later called the Manhattan Project. The United States developed atomic bombs, mobilizing all the necessary scientists and corporations, spending huge amounts of money over 3 years. A total of $2 billion, then $2 billion, was used without informing the people or the Congress of the project. the United States produced two different types of atomic bombs. Do you know which is the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima? Yes, right. This is the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Name Little Boy. But this boy was 3 meters long and weighed 4 tons. This was a uranium-based atomic bomb. And the lower one is the atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki 3 days after Hiroshima. Name, but this bomb, the bomb was based on plutonium. In April of 1945, the United States selected 17 cities as potential targets of the atomic bombs. In May, 4 of those cities were chosen as the final targets. There were Kyoto, Hiroshima, and Kokura, and Yokohama. And the U.S. military prohibited air raids on those 4 cities to preserve them until the atomic bomb could be dropped. You see, at that time, Kyoto was the primary target of the atomic bomb. At that time. However, the United States government thought that if the atomic bomb were dropped on Kyoto, such a city like Kyoto, the city so central to the Japanese culture and pride, it would make it impossible to obtain the cooperation from the Japanese people after the war. They might go to the Soviet Union. And consequently, Kyoto was deleted from the list of the targets. Instead, Hiroshima became the primary target, and for Nagasaki was added instead of Kyoto in the list. On August 2nd, the final targets were confirmed at Hiroshima, Kokura, and Nagasaki in that year. On August 6th, Little Boy was dropped on Hiroshima. And on August 9th, the bomber named Boxer flew to Nagasaki and Kokura first, but he was drowned there. And so the bomber was not identify the target. The bomber flew to the next target city, Nagasaki, and dropped the phantom at 11:02. Well, do you know why Hiroshima was chosen as the target city of the atomic bomb? One of the main reasons was that Hiroshima had the ideal topography to magnify the effect of the blast and to accurately observe the relative destructive power of the atomic bomb on the city. The United States selected flat urban area about 5 kilometers, 3 miles in diameter, surrounded by mountains. This was the ideal topography to magnify the effect of the blast. The blast came back with this creating massive clouds. There were 2 other reasons why Hiroshima became the target. One is that Hiroshima had been an important military center for more than 100 years from Sino-Japanese War. And the third reason was that there was no Allied forces, prisoners of war camp in Hiroshima City. POW camp. No POW camp in Hiroshima. But actually, there were 12 American prisoners of war in Hiroshima, very directly. And they all died due to the atomic bombing on that day. Though the United States government did not disclose this fact to their families in the United States for almost 40 years, 38 years until the President Ronald Reagan. The target of the atomic bomb was T-shaped iron bridge. Did you notice this bridge on your way here?